Hi everyone and welcome to Finding the Summit. My name's Emily and this is the project where we are empowering women around the world to reach their own Kilimanjaro-sized goals. So a question that we get asked quite a lot about our trek of Kilimanjaro is if we're going to have anyone to help us to carry the gear and things like that. Now, it's actually a legal requirement in Tanzania that when you're climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, not only do you need to have a guide with you, but you also need to have porters to assist you with your climb. Now, Tanzania isn't the most wealthy country, and tourism, particularly tourism to Kilimanjaro, really helps to bring in money to the local economy. That's one main reason for this law. So it was really important to us, and if you're watching this video, it's probably also important to you, to support the local economy in the right way, or as much as possible. That's why it's so important to be responsible when you're picking which company to climb with. And don't think that the big companies are exempt from this, because they can definitely be just as guilty of exploiting their porters too.
Now, what are porters actually expected to carry for you? Well, your porters are carrying anything that's not in your day pack. So they'll be carrying all the camping equipment, so the tents that you sleep in, the tents that you eat in, they carry all the food and all the water for each day of your trek. In your day pack, you'll just be carrying things that you're going to need for that day's trek. So maybe an extra coat, raincoat, your lunch, snacks, your camera, and your water for the day. So most porters are actually freelancers, meaning that they show up at the gates of the park and wait for companies to find last-minute porters. So these companies will go ahead and just find porters that are willing to climb that day, and that's how most companies unfortunately are able to charge so cheaply for their climb, because they aren't paying their porters a proper salary. Because this wage that these last minute or freelance porters are being paid is barely even enough for them to support their families, and that's why as a climber or a trekker on Kilimanjaro, paying or giving a tip to your porters is highly recommended. So although these porters are making the climb up Mount Kilimanjaro multiple times a year with rarely any rest in between, they can't afford to climb during the rainy season when it's most dangerous to climb. And also, speaking of danger, unfortunately a lot of porters have poor working conditions, so a lot of them won't have the proper gear or equipment to hike up Mount Kilimanjaro. I have seen some porters hiking up in flip-flops in the past, which is really sad. So every year several porters die on the mountain, and this is due to those poor working conditions and are also a result of exposure from not having the proper clothing, gear, or even insufficient amounts of food.
So what can you do to help? There are lots of things. A great place to start is I would recommend checking out the Kilimanjaro Porters Assistance Project. The project helps to promote the safe and fair working conditions of porters who are working in Kilimanjaro, and there's a number of initiatives that they have to try and help. They have their own list of approved Kilimanjaro climbing companies. Now, in order to be approved, these companies have to adhere to a list of conditions that KPAP lists out relating to the working conditions of porters. That list is a great place to start out if you're looking for a company to climb with. KPAP also has a number of other programs in place to help to train porters and also provide them with the necessary equipment for climbing Kilimanjaro. They even collect data on industry practices to help to educate people about what's happening and better conditions for porters in the future. I would really encourage you to go and have a look at their website for yourself, because they've had a lot of impact and it's really cool to see what they're doing to empower local people and porters. Tipping. Now, I know that it's not customary in every culture to tip, but actually it's really important that you do this when you're climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. There's no enforcement of minimum wage for porters on Kilimanjaro, and even people like the guides and the cooks on your walk are receiving a wage, but it's probably not enough to support them, let alone their families. KPAP suggests that before going, you actually ask your climbing company how much the porters are paid daily. That way you can supplement that base salary accordingly. And KPAP suggests that you do it so that you supplement it so that they're earning the equivalent of about $14 a day, which in Tanzanian shillings would be 30,000. Another great tip that KPAP offers is on the first day in the first camp that you're staying at, bring a load of envelopes with you, and on each one write the name of each of your crew members. That way, on the last day, you can put your tip for each person inside of that envelope and give them to them. The reason that this is a great idea is not only so that you don't forget anyone, and it's nice and personalised, it's also a great tip because it prevents people from turning up on the last night of your hike who weren't actually members of your crew. Apparently this can happen from time to time when you're climbing Kilimanjaro. On the last day, when it's customary to give out tips, you'll get crew members that weren't actually helping you at all, but are just there in the hopes of picking up an extra tip and getting some more money from the tourists that are climbing Kilimanjaro. For more advice on the best practices to follow when tipping, check out the KPAP website, which is linked in the description below. Porters can be very limited in their access to appropriate gear for climbing Kilimanjaro, which is why it's even suggested that you could consider donating any gear you no longer need after your mountain climb to porters who need them. There are a few ways you can do this, but when I contacted KPAP, they said that they actually have a clothes lending program where you can donate clothes that you no longer need and might be of use to porters. They have a number of pickup points around Moshi and the surrounding areas of Kilimanjaro where porters can go and pick up things like this. But another way you can do this is to actually offer it to your own mountain crew. KPAP suggests that a really fair way of doing this is to lay out all of the gear that you're donating, to get a number of pieces of paper, however many people there are in your crew, and put a number on each of them. Fold them up, and then get your crew to pick a number each. Whoever gets number 1 will get first choice of a piece of gear. Whoever gets number 2 gets second choice, and so on and so forth. But the best thing that you can do when visiting Kilimanjaro is to educate yourself, go in with the best of intentions, and really try to do your bit to leave the place that you're visiting a better place than it was before you came. Don't waste your chance to have a positive impact on the community by paying for a cheap trip. Not only could that be dangerous for you, but even if it works out fine for you personally, you're just encouraging dangerous working situations for the porters and other crew who are still going to be working there continuously after you've left. Porters really are at the bottom of the food chain when it comes to Kilimanjaro tours, so please think about it and think of a way that you can help to discourage the continuation of exploiting porters and other workers on Kilimanjaro.
Now, what are we doing as we prepare for our ascent of Mount Kilimanjaro? Well, we are making sure that the company that we will be climbing with is approved by KPAP. And in this documentary that we are producing, we aren't only going to be sharing our experience on the mountain. We will be sharing stories of the female porters on the mountain. So we're excited to be climbing with a crew of female porters who are becoming a lot more common in recent years. And we're excited to be finding out more what this offers to them and the local community in Tanzania and everything surrounding Mount Kilimanjaro. We just cannot wait to meet these women, meet our crew, meet the team that will allow us to reach the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. So if you enjoyed this video and you're as excited for this project as we are, please make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date for all the future videos that we will be posting, and you'll also be the first one to find out when we come back and when we go for the trek, and also as we get ready to produce this documentary. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Kilimanjaro, 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 Kilimanjaro,